Good afternoon, viewers. This is exactly 3:58 p.m. Nigeria time. So wherever you are watching from, I greet you too. My name is Kenneth Chukwemeka Obaga, and this is my economics class. Today, we are going to be looking at the concept of Keynesian multiplier. This concept, the concept of a multiplier, is a very powerful concept in economics, in that it shows how changes in autonomous components of aggregate expenditure or aggregate demand can have a magnified impact on the overall economy. Yeah. So, using the expenditure method, in economics, we have it that GDP is exactly equals to consumption expenditure plus investment expenditure plus government expenditure plus NX, which is the net export. So when you look at GDP as the income, summation of the income that we all earn in a particular country, say Nigeria, we say that this income is going to be exactly the same thing with when you multiply the expenditure component, that is the total expenditure on consumption goods incurred in that overall economy, plus total investment expenditure, which is expenditure on capital goods and services, plus total government expenditure, plus net export. In essence, assuming that consumption expenditure is say 500 million, while investment expenditure is say 200 million, and government expenditure is 100 million, while net export say is 40 million. Using the expenditure method, we say that the total income earned by the citizens who have made this expenditure will equal 500 plus 200, 700, 840 million. This is the national income. So, as regards how expenditures is now being treated as income, we need to understand that every expenditure that is made within an economy results automatically to an income to another person. For instance, consumption expenditure, if I go to the market to buy a pair of slippers or to buy clothes or a pair of shoe or a television or a mobile phone, I'm automatic. All the expenditure I incurred in this regard is regarded as is considered a consumption expenditure. And this expenditure that I have made, assuming it takes me a total of say 200,000 naira, this total expenditure have resulted into 200,000 naira worth of income to all these people that have collected the money and have collected the good. So when we look at the total amount of expenditure that is made by consumers in an economy, of course you know that everyone in an economy is a consumer, and you take the total amount of investment expenditure, which are investment expenditure, expenditures you made in fixed capitals like machines, buildings, so on and so forth, things that are not meant for immediate consumption, but to enable you or to help you in further production of goods and services, we regard to them as investment expenditure. And you look at all the expenditures that governments make in an economy, all this amount in one way or the other translates to income to another person, and so on and so forth. So when we look at this, if you can sum this, we can say that the total amount that you get by summing them will translate into GDP, and this GDP is another name for national income. If we understand this, it will help us a lot when we will be looking at how the multiplier effect operates. But prior to us going to the operation of the multiplier effects, it's necessary for us to look at when the multiplier effects came into operation in economics. And I must say that the concept came into operation following the publication in 1936. Following the publication in 1936 of a book known as the General Theory. The General Theory. The General Theory of employment, interest, interest and money. And this book was published in 1936 by John Maynard Keynes, a British economist. John Maynard Keynes. John Maynard Keynes published his book in the year 1936, just within the period of a Great Depression. And this book was actually published to proffer an economic solution to the operation of the Great Depression, because at that particular point in time, there was an economic doctrine that was in place, and this economic doctrine that was in place is the classical theory. According to the classical economists, when there is unemployment, government does not need to intervene. Government does not need to do anything to restore the economy to full employment. They believe that there could be possibility that the wage rate operating in the economy is too high, which is why people are not willing to hire more workers. That what is going to happen is that the firms that are operating the economy is going to become aware that there is excess labor supply in the economy, and as a result, the workers are going to accept lower wage rates. When people who are working comes to the understanding that the wage rate is too much, they will accept a lower wage rate. And once they accept lower wage rate, firms will be willing to recruit more people. Hence, those people who were unemployed hitherto will now be absorbed into the labor market, and everybody will be doing what? Will be working. This all this would happen according to the classical economists without the intervention of the government. The same thing will happen when there is a economic recession or depression. According to the classical economists, government should still do what? Hands off. Government should not intervene. In fact, the classical economists have this ideology that is usually referred to as let it be, hands off from the economy, called laissez-faire. 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 Let it be. And they are the architect of capitalism, wherein means of economic productions are being owned and managed by private individuals. Government should hands off from economic activities. According to them, if there is inflation or recession or unemployment, the economy is capable of addressing itself. According to Keynes, the problem of an economy is the problem of deficiency in aggregate demand. Remember that the classical economists had believed that the problem is the problem of supply. According to them, once goods and services are supplied, everything that is supplied must be demanded. Keynes believed that during economic recession, period of low economic activities, that government should not hands off from the economy, that government should intervene. How do government intervene in an economy? Government can intervene, according to Keynes, through either monetary policy or fiscal policy. Monetary policy is concerned with the manipulation of interest rates and money supply in order to actualize predetermined goals such as full employment, economic growth, price stability, and etc. While fiscal policy is concerned with the manipulation of the revenue generation or expenditure of the government in order to alter the level of disequilibrium in the economy. So according to Keynes, if an economy is recording, if an economy is experiencing a recession is a period of low economic activities, Keynes believe that government should increase its expenditure. Remember that government expenditure is part and parcel of the component of GDP. Government expenditure is part and parcel of the component of GDP. Consumption expenditure comes from everybody in the economy. Investment expenditure comes from the business sector alone. And net export comes from the foreign sector. I don't want to talk about net export for now, but government expenditure comes from the government. The things that come from private individuals, you cannot control it. Business firms, you cannot control it because business firms, business people act based on profit. If the business venture is not profitable, you cannot go and force them to do business. Private individuals, they consume based on utilities. If they believe that the utilities is not there for them, you cannot force them to consume. The only thing that government have control is government expenditure, which means that government can spend money into the economy. What does that mean? Assuming that people are not purchasing everything that is produced, Keynes believe that government should do what? Increase government expenditure. Like in this case, we had 500 for consumption, 200 million for investment, and government was spending 100,000, and net export is 400. Keynes believe that if there is a period of economic recession, that what government should do is to do what? Increase the government expenditure. If government increases their expenditure, they comes into the economy to purchase goods and services that have been bought. The firms are no longer going to feel that the goods and services that they produce is not being bought. They are not going to have unintended inventory accumulation, so that everything that the firms produce is going to be consumed within the economy. And as a result, the economy will continue to have record of successive growth. For instance, in this case that I have given you, assuming that the firms have produced 100 units of marker, and the government have estimated that people, based on what is called a marginal propensity to consume, that people save specified amount of their income. If government foresee that people are going to save about 2,000 naira from their income, which means 2,000 naira worth of marker is not going to be consumed, that means 20 marker is going to be done what? To be left for the firms themselves. That government should do what? Increase their expenditure so that they will ensure that they purchase this 20 marker. By that way, the firms that are producing will not feel that the goods and services they are producing is not being demanded. Hence, they will continue to produce more and more.